Hi, today we're going to have a look at the whiteboard for the V6 MAXHUB Interactive Flat Panel. Very powerful feature which offers great brainstorming and collaboration options. Right, so to access the whiteboard, in this tray over here on the left of the panel, as we mentioned in one of our previous tutorial videos, this is fully configurable with applications of your choosing that you would use on a daily basis. As a default, the whiteboard application is in this space, and we suggest you keep it there should you want to use the whiteboard on an ongoing basis. So it's quite simple. We access the whiteboard, it loads for us. This is how it looks when you load it. We will start from the right and go through to the left and show you all the options. The first thing we'll look at is the page allocation. So you can add up to 20 pages in your collaboration or your brainstorming session. You also have a window on the allocation section which will show you your slides that are currently that you've currently activated, and you'll be able to move between those slides during your presentation, which is quite a powerful feature. The next thing we'll look at is the settings. So settings, as you'll see, simple set of settings, nothing overly complicated. You can get your head around this relatively quickly, and hopefully this tutorial will help you achieve that. So in the settings menu, you have the writing settings, and you will see that it is set to sensitive touch. I recommend leaving it in sensitive touch, which means it will cater for people with a very light touch or people a little more heavy-handed like myself. You also have multiplayer writing, and what multiplayer writing allows you to do is to have more than one person annotate on the panel at a given time. And this is great for collaboration and brainstorming sessions where you have two people communicating together on the board. So that is quite a handy setting, and as you see, I'll just go to a fresh page and we'll go back to the writing settings, and also here we have dual color stylus writing, which is very, very handy. So if I take my stylus and I go through to the pen settings and I set my tip one color and the rear another color, I can now have two colors with which to work during my brainstorming or my collaboration session. Very, very handy feature. We'll skip to a different page. Right, the next is the background. So with the background, you've got a choice of either lighter colors or darker colors, depending on how you'd like to work. I prefer a darker background. So that's your background, very, very simple. If we go to laboratory, we tap on laboratory, we have a function called chart drawing. Now chart drawing is great if you use a lot of shapes in your collaboration or your brainstorming session. As you'll see, I will write freehand quite messily, and it actually creates a coherent shape for me. Very, very handy feature if you use a lot of shapes. We'll skip to another page. Also under laboratory is text recognition. And the text recognition is very, very handy feature. You can have it on permanently. However, there are instances, which you'll see as we go through this video, where you can invoke the handwriting, the text recognition. So it's quite simple. My handwriting is not great. And it picks it up rather nicely, and there we have it. Scribble through and we can delete. Quite convenient, but we'll turn it off for now and we'll invoke it at a later stage where necessary. Okay, you have the about feature, which just tells you what version of software you're on, and from here you can actually do an update. It is by default set to auto update, so it updates over the air as you use the panel. The next function is the scan code. Now scan code, this is a feature of the whiteboard which is extremely powerful, is the ability to be able to extract content from the board after a presentation, as opposed to a traditional whiteboard where you would need to take photographs or make copious notes. So there's two choices here. There's LAN mode which would be suitable for people on the network, on the same network as the panel, and they can retrieve the content. But if you have guests or clients who've come through for a presentation and they're not on your network, but you want them to be able to take the content with them, you set it to QR code generated via cloud server. It takes a little longer to load, but it means that anyone with an internet connection can scan the QR code and grab the information from the panel. Very powerful. So that's that setting. Right, so that's the settings menus. The next thing we'll look at is the collaboration. This is a very, very powerful feature. What you're able to do here is we can add this panel to an additional 3 MAXHUBs in remote locations anywhere in the country or the world, and we can create a single canvas for all 4 sites, and we can collaborate and brainstorm, and the microphones handle the audio, and we can have a discussion, and we can have a session on the whiteboard. Very, very powerful. It's a very simple procedure. You either join a meeting that somebody else has created, or you can create your own meeting. And as you'll see, while it initiates the call, there is a code which pops up. It just takes a few seconds to load. Code will appear shortly. You'll see the code over there. That can be emailed, WhatsApped, texted to the remote sites, and people can connect and they will have a collaborative session on the whiteboard, which is a very powerful feature, and it is used quite regularly as well, quite successfully. Right, so we'll just quickly exit here. We'll jump out of that session. Great. The next thing we'll look at, obviously, you want to be able to bring content in, and this is a powerful aspect of the panel, is the ability to bring in content into your whiteboarding session. So this file menu you open, and it basically gives you a folder tree with access to your drives. I can put a memory stick in, which is quite convenient. I'll just plug this into the panel in the front. Whoops. Great. Right, so you'll see here, here's your drives. You can actually have a network drive as well if you want to get information off your server. There's the USB icon as well. Plus, you have the QR code, which is super powerful. I can scan this QR code and I can send content from my phone or my tablet to the panel. This is particularly useful if the company has people on site, like engineers, for example, and they've taken photographs of various installations and various issues. Now they come back to the office for a meeting with the team, and they want to be able to share their content, but it's on their phone or their tablet. Very simple. Scan the QR code. It opens up a web browser. It gives you a file menu. You add your file. You hit the share button. It sends it through to the panel, and you can then use that content for your presentation. Right, so just to demonstrate this function, I will use my phone. We'll go to my camera. In most modern phones, your camera is your QR code scanner. For those of you with older phones, you'll need a QR code scanning application. We scan the QR code, opens up the web browser. Takes a second or two to load while it communicates with the cloud. Okay, so now I've loaded the web page. I'm going to add a photograph just for purposes of this demonstration. So we'll just take a photograph of one of our panels. I will then use the photograph. It will now transfer this information across to the panel. You'll see it says receiving quick files. We go to the view, it opens the application. We can now add this, clears out the cache, and now I can go in and I can now add this content to my collaboration or brainstorming session. Very powerful feature. Right, next page. So what we will do as well is under the file menu, we are able to bring in PDF documents and video files. And this is a very, very powerful feature as well, and we'll demonstrate that now. So we'll go to my memory stick, is where I've stored my video files. So we'll select a video. Takes a second to load. Right, now it opens the video in this container within the whiteboard. I can now play the video, but now whilst I play the video, I can take snapshots. So I can decide on which parts of the video I want to keep for my collaborative session. And we shall take one more snapshot, and that will be sufficient. I can now discard the video, and I now have the snapshots available to add to my presentation or my collaborative session. You will also note that there's a menu system available on every clip. So you can move it to a different slide, you can make a copy of it, you can also do the identify function actually allows for text recognition, which is quite useful, and then you have a delete function as well. And that is how we add video file information to our presentation. The next thing I will show you is how we can manage a PDF document. So you might have a large document that you want to discuss, but only certain segments of the document are appropriate. So what we will do is we'll go into our file search area. We'll go back to my memory stick. We'll select a PDF document. We'll insert that document. Once again, it opens it in a container. I can now access this PDF document, and I can now go through it, and I can say, fine, this page is appropriate, this we need to discuss, that is not so important, that is a lot more important. And now we have taken the pages from a particularly large document, we've taken just what we need, and now we're able to add this to our presentation or collaborative session. So that's quite a powerful feature. And that is the file menu. So now we'll switch to a clean page. The next is the insert function. And the insert function gives you a set of tools that will allow you to add tables. So once again, the edit menu pops up over here as well. So we can hit the edit function, and we can actually either remove or add cells or rows. We can, if I go to the annotate function, I can annotate in these cells. And as you will see, if I exceed the size of the cell, it automatically expands. So you will always get a neat footprint for your text. So now my handwriting is not fantastic. So what we'll do is we will now invoke the identify feature, which is the text recognition. So we hit the identify function, and there we go. It's now cleaned up my handwriting, and it looks a lot more presentable for people who'll be reviewing this information at a later stage. And that is the cells, the tables, sorry. Right, next up, mind mapping. This is a very, very powerful feature and is used quite a lot as well. As you can see, it starts off with a single cell, and from here I can expand, and I can continue this quite infinitely, almost. Another trick as well is one finger on the board will annotate, two allow you to actually move the canvas. So here I can now expand on my mind map by just shifting the real estate of the panel to allow for more cells. So now once I've done this, I can annotate in these cells just like I did with the table, and I can use the identify feature as well to tidy up my text, which is, once again, a very powerful feature. So that is the mind mapping. The next step would be notes. So people who like using sticky notes, this is a sticky note generator, so we can write some text on there and we can add a sticky note to our presentation. So this is quite handy. So as you can see, there's not an overabundance of features, just enough to get you a really solid collaboration or brainstorming session without too much complexity. So then we'll add another page. Let's just exit this. Right, so if we look under insert, we've also got graphics that we can add. So we can add lines or shapes. We'll add a couple there. There they are, and I can easily then manipulate them around the panel, and I can use them as part of my session. And that is the shapes function. Okay, so now we've been through the majority of it. The other items here would be the forward or back function, which will allow you to remove something or go back, do something again, should you wish. That's quite handy. What's also interesting is if I annotate, so I've got it in writing mode, I can annotate on the panel. As you can see, the annotation is super fluid. Very, very pleasant experience writing on this board. But using the back of my hand, I can erase, which is very, very handy. I can also use the pen to erase. If I go into erase mode, I can use the pen and I can erase. I can also go into select mode. I can select what I need to delete, and I can hit the delete icon. So there's quite a few options in terms of the actual annotation, and obviously you can change your color and your line thickness as well. Now, the really cool part of this process is now we've done our collaborative session, and everyone now will be at that point where they'd want to take something back with them as a reference for the session. As I mentioned previously, in the old days with a traditional whiteboard, you'd have to take photographs with your cell phone, and then you've got to rely on the person's handwriting for the legibility, but that is no longer the case. We have very powerful save functions available on this panel as well. So there's the save icon here. If I tap on the save icon, it opens up a QR code. I also have the ability to save it as either a MAXHUB board file, which means if you've got multiple MAXHUBs around the country, you fly from Joburg to Cape Town, you can create your whiteboard in Joburg, save it as a whiteboard file, take it to Cape Town, load it on the whiteboard, and continue what you've prepared, which is very powerful. You can also save it as a PDF document or a PNG portable network graphic as an option as well. Also, you have these three little dots in the top right corner of the save menu where you can mail, which is very, very handy. So after a meeting, you can just set up a mail group and you can email the notes to everybody quite conveniently. It's also got an option to print if you have a local printer. The very powerful feature is the QR code. So it invokes the QR code. You'll see we have it in cloud sharing mode, so it takes a few seconds to load the content that I've just created. Okay, so now the QR code has loaded. We can increase the size of the QR code so that people at the back of the room can pick up the QR code, go to our camera or our QR code scanner if we got an old phone. We scan the QR code. It opens up a web page, and pretty soon we'll have all the notes available on my phone or my tablet. Great, and that's the whiteboard. Very powerful feature of the version 6.4 software. Very simple to use, very intuitive, as you can see. And if you are not a whiteboard user, I'm sure, well, I hope that this video will encourage you to use the whiteboard going forward. Thank you very much.